Okay, so we began the new parak yesterday. Let's just chas ribbe outside what we saw. We went. We're dealing with the halacha of anusa, a woman that is forced by a man. She's a basula. She's a basula and a naira. That means she's from 12 in a day till 12 and 6 months, and she's a basula. Then the man has to pay to the father 50 shekel kesef, right? 50 shekel kesef. He has to marry her if she so desires, and he's never able to divorce her. So that's the classic case. When the Mishnah popped in and said, "What's the case of anusa? If you're ma'anis a mamzeris, if you're ma'anis an asina, if you're ma'anis a guy that's a guy before 3 years old, your sister, all of a sudden, not normal cases. Chayve lavim and chayve creases. Case of chayve lavim, chayve creases. You'll be chayav for what? For the parsha of anusa. Good. The Gemara, the Gemara said. So where would you think that? It says isha, yet that you have to be able to marry them, and none of the people listed in the Mishnah are you able to be married to, right? So the Gemara gave it two answers. We had Reish Lakish saying we learn it from Naira. We had Rav Papa saying we learn it from Basula. We asked the question: you need to teach me Mesa, not a dead Naira. I need to teach me for the Kalvachoyim to teach me 50 and shekel back and forth. So we said that's 6 limudim. In others, we have 6 to play with. We have three nairis, and we have 3 basulis, and everything worked out. Okay. The Gemara said that our Mishnah now is not according to the Mishnah is not according to Mishnah is not according to Shimon Hateimani. Right. The Mishnah is not according to anyone who v'lo yisiel isha. In other words, since we have a case of chayve karis and chayve misa, where you're not able to stay married or marry them, right? Then if you hold that that's true, then it can't be the time of the Mishnah. So what did Shimon HaTeimani say? Shimon HaTeimani said that an isha, that in order to be a nusa, it has to be an isha that has a vaya. In other words, an isha that the kedushin's typhus. If you're mekadisha, even though you're going to have to get divorced, right? If you're mekadosh the kedushin's typhus, there would be a din of anus. So therefore, mamzer, there would be a din because mamzer is chayve lavim. It would be typhus. Kedushin would be typhus by chayve lavim. The Shimon ben Menashe says no. It has to be a woman that you could stay with, right? A woman that you could stay with. Therefore, he can't be both cases of the Mishnah. So Rabbi Shimon HaTeimani is out because of the case of achaisai, which of course that the kedushin is not typhus. Rabbi Shimon ben Menashe is out because you can't stay together. The Gemara asked, and according to Rabbi Akiva, that kedushin is not typhus at all, right? So we said what's the difference between Shimon and Menashe and the nafkamina would be mamzeres. We said what about according to Rabbi Akiva that even mamzeres kedushin is not typhus? We said it'd be a monel kohen gadol because when one marries a kohen gadol, it doesn't create what? It doesn't create mamzerim, it creates chalolim. And what's the rule of thumb, guys? What's the rule of thumb? That if there's mamzeris, there's no kedushin. If there's kedushin, there's no mamzeris. So if there's chalolim, there's no. So therefore, there's kedushin. Now, and Rabbi Akiva, who holds kedushin, is not typhus by chave lavim, would agree by a monel kohen gadol that in fact what. So if a kohen is ma'anis and almana, she was almana obviously from Erisin, that she had to be a mesula, and it was ma'anis, there would be a dinmad of. We said that's very good according to Rabbi Simoi. What do you do according to Rabbi Sheva? Rabbi Sheva said that any bia, even Amon al-Kohen Gadol would be out, any Aloisase would be out. So I'll be the nafkamina between Shimon HaTeimani and Shimon Menashe. We said Mitzri. Rabbi was a Mitzri. That a Mitzri is not say. It says in the Torah, the third generation Mitzri is allowed to come to Kal Hashem. The third generation of Mitzri is allowed to be Kal Hashem. We can infer, therefore, the first two not. That's a lav habal mechal asay. It's a negative you hear as a result of an inference from a positive. That's an asay. So according to that, that would be the nafkamina. That would be the nafkamina according to Rabbi Akiva. That since you have, according to Shimon ben Menashe, you would not be able to stay together. There would be a din of anus. According to Shimon HaTeimani, there would be. And according to the opinion of Rabbi Sheva, we concluded yesterday. Rabbi Sheva says what happens. He's not arguing with Rabbi Simoi. He's saying Rachel bitrachetana. Any bia, according to Rabbi Akiva, any bia would make my mzeris ma'iklamei. Meaning, like even my a mitzri. What would you say? So we said a kohen gadol to a bu'ula. Now I thought someone would jump down my throat. How could it be a case of bu'ula? The whole case of anus is by a basula. How could it be by a bu'ula? Right? So Rashi answered, speaking with a bia shloikadarka. In other words, even though Le'inyan, guys outside, we did Yivamis. Even though Le'inyan, no, even though Le'inyan, Kohen Gadol, who has a mitzvah, I say, to marry a Basula, if she's what? A Ba'ula Shaloi Kedarka, she's not a Basula anymore, he can't marry her. Le'inyan Onus, she would be a Basula. Le'inyan Onus. Onus has to do with the Basulim themselves. Basulim is Kedarka, not Shaloi Kedarka. So Memela, that's the case. It comes out that's the case. Ba'ula Kohen Gadol Kuli Alma, again, that would be the case of what of Anusa, that according to Rabbi Kiva.
It's a bula.
She's a bula
Kedarka,
and a basula.
and a basula,
Right. So Kohen Gadol, right? That's the case.
Oh,
Only according to Rabbi Akiva. Only according to Rabbi Akiva. Okay, guys, this daf Lamed is a month in yeshiva, minimal, guys. This daf is a minimal. I opened up Mesifta. There's at least 18 pages on this. 18 pages on this thing. Now, let's introduce what the whole thing is over here. Okay. Now, the Mishnah said the following. It has to be, guys, it has to be, let's say, when he's with his brother's wife, right? It has to be that he divorced her. Then it would only be in his Sakaris. Because if he didn't divorce her, then it would be Eishes Ish. Guys, Eishes Ish is what? Misa B'dei Shemayim. What happens if a man is ma'anis? Did I say Misa B'dei Adam? Misa B'dei Adam. What happens if a person is mechuyev Misa and Mamin? Kam lei b'dei Rabba Minei. So the chiddush of the Mishnah was by an Issakaris we do not say Kam lei b'dei Rabba Minei. Guys, that was the chiddush of the Mishnah. We don't say Kam lei b'dei Rabba Minei by an Issakaris. Good. Now the Gemara is going to say Lafuki Nechunya ben Akana. The Nechunya ben Akana, in fact, holds you do say Kam lei b'dei Rabba Minei by an Issakaris, and we're going to have the source, and that's going to be the share. The shita of the Nechunya ben Akana that we say Kam lei b'dei Rabba Minei by an Issakaris. Okay, let's see what we got. Lamed, we are about 8-9 lines down. Let's finish off. Everyone be moida. If you're manas anida, shemeshalim kanas. Lamadi am yesh ba'avaya, hanam yesh ba'avaya. You can stay together. Lamadi am the kedushin typhus. If you mekadosh an almana, a leader kedushin is typhus, and what if you go ahead and marry her? How you can go ahead with uri l'kaim, you could stay with her. Hanami uri l'kaim. Now, ula fuke midrab nechunya ben akana. This shita, 2 ways to learn, either the shita we just mentioned or on Mishnah, right? Is what it is opposed to the shita of nechunya ben akana. What's the shita of nechunya ben akana? Tanya, nechunya ben akana haya oises yom kippurim kishabes l'tashlomim. Okay, outside guys, you burn down a haystack on Shabbos. What do you chayiv? Skila. How much chayiv at a haystack? Nothing. You burn down a haystack on Yom Kippur. What do you chayiv? Charis. What do you chayiv in the haystack? It depends. So now, if Nechunya ben Akana made Yom Kippur and Shabbos synonymous with Tashlumin, what must he hold? By chorus, you say, "Come lay b'derab minei," and therefore he can't be the Tana of Mishnah, because our Mishnah said if you're ma'anis your sister or your aunt, or your brother's wife, which is it's a chorus, there still is a din of paying the 50 shekel kesef. So therefore, very geschmack. Says the Gemara, the Nechunya ben Akana holds guys on Lamed, in the middle of the page. Rabbi Nechunya ben Akana haya oises Yom Kippurim kishabes l'tashlumin regarding tashlumin. Ma Shabbos mischayv ben avshay. If you burn down the haystack, you chayiv in nefesh. Upatim in tashlumin, you upatim tashlumim. Af Yom HaKippurim. So to Yom Kippurim mischayv ben avshay. Upatim in tashlumim. Good. So he's not the Tan of a Mishnah. There's nothing more. Oh, he's not the Tan of a Mishnah. All we have to go ahead and figure out now is where does he get his shita from? Where does he get it from? My Talmid ben Akana. Amar Abaya, Nemar Asan Bidei Adam. It says an umglik. Asan is an umglik, we say in Yiddish. You know what umglik means, Baruch? No, you don't know what? A bad thing. Bad thing. I think it's a catastrophe would be a good word. Anyway, so Asan Bidei Adam. V'nema, what? V'nema Asan Bidei Shemayim. It says Asan Bidei Adam. In other words, it says the word Asan by a natural occurrence, and it says the asan by what? By a bidei adam dig occurrence. Ma asan ama bidei adam patim in tashlumim af asan am shemayim patim in tashlumim. Now, what is the case of asan bidei adam? That's the case of in Parshas Mishpatim. in Parsha Mishpatim. Here's the Parsha. Okay. If your Chumash is Perek Chav Beis Pasuk Kesuvos in Mishpatim. Okay. What does it say? Actually, it's Pasuk Chav Beis. The Chiyarivan Anoshim, two people are fighting. The Hiki Yishas Rayeu Be'evin Be'egrois. No, that's not it. I'm sorry, got the wrong pasuk. The Chiyinatzu Anoshim, Pasuk Chav Beis. The Chiyinatzu Anoshim, two men are fighting. The Nakfi Isha Hara, and they hit a pregnant woman. The Yotza Yiladeha, and she miscarries. The Loyir Asoin, and there's nothing bad that happens to the woman. Then Oneshi Onesh, then you pay the Mevlados. What's the inference? What happens if something bad happens to the woman that she dies? Then you don't pay. Now, is this bidei shemayim or bidei adam? Clearly bidei adam, right? That they're fighting together. So here is the bidei adam. The bidei adam is that two men are fighting. They hit a pregnant woman. If she doesn't die, then you pay. What's the inference? And if she does die, you don't pay. So therefore, that's the source for, according to Abaya, that's the source for Kamle b'derab minei. Now, it's another place that says asoin is in Bereshis. When Ruvain wants to take down to Mitzrayim, he wants to go ahead and take Bidyomi down to Mitzrayim because Yosef is not letting them go, right? So what does he say to them? And asan will happen to him. So that any bad thing that would happen to him, any bad thing that would happen, afilu b'dei shemayim. So we'll get into that. So it says asan by pregnant woman. It says asan by what? By Yaakov, and we're going to learn out asan. Ma asan omi b'dei adam patim and tashlumin. Af asan omi b'dei shemayim patim and tashlumin. Maskalo Rav Ada Barava mimai dechi kamazir lehu Yaakov lebonecha al tzinem upachim. How do you know that Yaakov was going ahead and warning them about cold and hot? The Havamina now, guys, is cold and hot is bidei shemayim. That shemayim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will kill you in a freezing or weather or hot weather. The bidei shemayim ninu dilma aryeh v'ganvei the bidei adam ninu. Maybe you get eaten up by a lion or people the bidei adam. I guess the Havamina is if you eaten up a lion that it's not bidei shemayim is that it's a physical thing in the world. I mean, the Havamina. What would the difference be between hot and cold versus a lion and a person? Lion and a person are physical things in this world. Seen with Pachim are Pashup Hashem. Says the Gemara. 1 second. After Yaakov Aha Ahazir, was Yaakov only going ahead and warning them about seen with Pachim and Aha Loyazir Yaakov? Excuse me. Yaakov Aha Azir Aha Loyazir. Yaakov Komil Yazir. Right. And seen with Pachim. So he was warning about everything. In other words, don't limit it to just bidei shemayim, even bidei shemayim, everything. You want them about everything. Now, just like, so you have the limit, guys. The limit is asan. We're now digressing to discuss the statement that you made, that sinim upachim is bidei shemayim, right? And aryeh and ganvi is bidei adam, okay? Says the Gemara. I saw a pshat that the main thing is from Ganovim, that aryeh is lav dafka. It's the Ganovim. Anyway, sinim upachim bidei shemayim, is sinim pachim bidei shemayim, but Tanya, hakol bidei shemayim chutz mitzinu pachim. Tosis always asks. I says Hobi Leshma Chutz Min Yer Shemayim. Always asks in Kasha over here. Sinu Pshnemar Sinu Pachim Bederach Ikesh Shoy Menav Shoy Yarchik Mehem. The person who watches himself will distance himself from this. So you see that what you can go ahead and right. I always tell over the story. There's Abramsky. Zeichet Tzadik Kodesh Baruch. Abramsky was imprisoned by the communists. He was the Rav in Slutsk, and when they went ahead and right as soon as the communists took over, he was the first Rabbanim they put into Siberia. He was in Siberia. He got to Siberia. He did not have he had a coat. I think it's not mamish nothing. And he turned to Kodesh Baruch and he said, "Kobi leishmayim chutz mitzinu pachim," because you always cover yourself and take care of yourself, right? He goes, "I can't." He said he was there for I don't know how many years. He never caught a cold once in Siberia. So Kobi leishmayim chutz mitzinu pachim. I'm sure he had a schus and most of Rabbi Abramsky. Anyway, so the Su, you want to say in addition, you want to say Ayi v'Gavi b'dei Adam Ninu. Guys, we're going to prove the following: that a lion getting you is skila. A lion getting you is skila. We're going to prove that. A ganva getting you could be. It depends how he kills you. If he strangles you to death, it's chenek. If he decapitates you, it's hereg. So if he uses a sword. So this is a very famous Gemara. The Gemara says, from the time the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, the Sanhedrin, four mises like butler. 4 mises were not butler. Says them were like butler. What are you talking about? A butler. They're very butler. There's no. When was the last time we went ahead and administered capital punishment? We haven't administered capital punishment since 40 years before the Churban Bayesheni. That's the last time. Remember, we spoke at the one Sanhedrin that there were so many murders that Bezdin left. And capital punishment cannot be administered only when the Sanhedrin Gedolah is in Yerushalayim, the 71. The 23 that advocate capital punishment is only when the 71 are in session. We said 40 years before they left. Now we got into the discussion about Yeshu. How could Yeshu Yeshu lived at the end of the Bayesheni? So therefore, how is it possible to have said that they went in? They went back and they took it. So sometimes they say they went back. They 40 they left and then they came back. In certain cases they came back. They didn't come back for murder cases, but maybe for Mesis and Mediach they did come back. Well, you have to wait till Sanhedrin. You can't leave Shira. I want to for you, and you have to leave you waiting till then.
Oh yeah.
Mem Aleph from the base, bottom twice, the twice and second twice. Anyway, says the Gemara. So Vamar Yosef, V'chein Tanur Yosef, Miyam Shchar Beis Hamikdash Afal Pisha Shabbat Lu Sanhedrin. Avram Misas like Batlu, Ella Amid Beis, Ella Din Arba Misas like Batlu. What it means, the din of the Arba Misas like Batlu. In other words, not that Bezdin administered it, but people would go ahead and Shemayim would administer to the people who what Bezdin Shel Mata would administer the people. So, for example, Mishen is Chayiv Skila, the one who Chayiv Skila, or Noifel Min Agag, or Chayer Da Sasai. He'll either fall off a roof. Again, what do you do by Skila, guys? They throw you down from they base that Skila and they throw stones on you if you don't die. So you'll either fall off a roof, or Chayer Da Sasai, or Chayer will pounce upon you. And Ari Vidoras, guys, the Ari will go ahead and jump on you and pin you down. So this is the raya that Ari also is Bidei Shemayim. Umishin is Chayiv Sreifa, or Neifel B'Deleika, he'll either go ahead and fall into a fire, or Nachish Makishai, or he'll be bitten by a snake. Just a little bikias in snakes, guys. Usually, if this is in Eretz Yisrael, there's basically a few types of venomous snakes. The two types that you want to know about are a lapid and a viper. And a lapid has what's called a neurotoxin. They're fixed fang snakes, and they're what they do is they coat the venom coats your synapse, so the message doesn't get from your brain to breathe, and you'll die you'll die in breathing. Black mamba is a lapid, a cobra is a lapid, those famous snakes like that. But that's not sreifa. Vipers, they have a different type of toxin. They'll go ahead and they'll bite you, and it mamish literally decays your. People, you ever see people handle snakes? They very often they don't have fingers because they were bitten and they lost the finger. And because most of the snakes, a rattlesnake would be a classic case. This venom is like fire, like burns. And in Eretz Yisrael, the venomous snake is the saw-scale viper. So they're bit by Nachash. That make a lot of sense that in Eretz Yisrael, where this was written, that the Nachash would go, the strafe would be that. I just thought that'd be interesting for Chaim Lax and others. Huh?
Nice. We'll post a YouTube video tonight on the channel.
What? No, hashtag Rabbi Stern share hashtag reptiles. Anyway, Lenny's gonna visit. Don't worry, it'll be in the blog. Don't worry. Anyway, so Geschmack. So that would be nach Umishin Chayiv Hariga. If you Chayiv Hereg, or you nimsa Malchus, you'll be even going to the Malchus, and the way Malchus would go ahead and kill you, they would decapitate you. I listen by any level, listen will come upon you. So again, guys, so whether it's the lion or it's the ganif, what it's bidei shemayim. So you're not limited. Umishin is Chayiv Chenek. If a person's Chayiv Chenek, or Toiva Benor, will either drown. I may Besuruchni is askara, that disease that begins in the throat and works its way down to your intestines. So therefore, what you see that the opposite. We see that Sinu with Pachim is Misa B'dei Adam, and kind of an Ari is Misa B'dei Shemayim. Ela Eipech. Ari V'gan B'dei Shemayim, Sinu Pachim B'dei Adam. Okay, so that's and the bottom line is, what's the Shita of Abaya? Where do we know the Shita of the Chunya Ben Akana? Asain, he learns it out, the din of Kamle B'derab Minei, he learns it out from Atzushtel, from the Mei Vladais, to Yaakov Avinu, and therefore any type of calamity And even in this Karis, we'll go ahead and get you off the hook. Once you chayiv something, you get you off the hook. Okay. Rava disagrees. Rava disagrees with Abaya. Where's Rava's source for Nechunya ben Akana for Kamei? Rava Amar Taima de Rabbi Nechunya ben Akana mehacha. Okay, here's the pasuk. Now we know a moilach, guys. A moilach is a type of avodah zara. Anyone, there's machlokes. What would they do? Would they pierce the child? There'd be fire, and they pierce the child through like a gauntlet, or they pierce the child through the fire itself, or burn the child. It was such an avodah zara. The chiyah for practicing it is skila. Right. So what does Hashem say? Listen what Hashem says. The helim yalimu amaretz esenehem. The lashon. If the people, if the halim yalimu amaretz esenehem, they'll close their eyes. Mina ishahu, from this person who practices what ma'ilich, besita bezar le'ma'ilich levilti hamas isai, without killing him. In other words, if they're not going to kill him, then v'samti anias panai beishahu. I'll place. Hakadosh Baruch Hu says, I'll turn my attention to this guy. Not good. Not only him, his family as well. And I will go ahead and cut him. And anyone who turns after him, so what do we see? Now, what is the Moilech Chayiv, guys? What's he Chayiv? Skila. What does the Kadosh Baruch Hu say? What will I do? I'll give him chorus. So what do you see? What's equal to what? Chorus is equal to? So Skila. Is there a din of Kamle by Skila? Absolutely. So is there a din of Kamle by chorus? That's the source. Rabbi says for Mechunya ben Akana. That's the Mechunya ben Akana source. Again. So
A big practice. This was a lot of fun, right?
oh no, it's nafkamina. Yeah, that's the nafkamina is the shit. The nafkamina is the 18 pages.
Yeah,
You'll see, but just again, I'm going through this pretty quick to get to the part that I don't know. So it's kishmak, guys. But yeah, we'll get in a second. So now, that's his source. Ma misa shalachem patam in tashlumim. Just your misa b'dei shamayim skili patam tashlumim. Af karish shali patam in tashlumim. Okay, now so let's go over. Is there a practical difference? They both are learning out what? Abai learns out anything that happens, anything goes. Good, anything goes. And what does Rabbi say? He learns it out from Malach. That he compares skila to karis. Now, says the Gemara. Let's figure this out. Says the Gemara. My Ika ben Rava, who learns it out from Malach, Rabbi, who learns it out from Yaakov Avinu and the Mevladas. Ika binayu zar sha'eichel truma. Guys, you learn Masechta Yavamis. What's the halacha zar that eats truma? Don't all answer at once. Misa b'dei shemayim is right. What's the difference between Misa b'dei shemayim and karis? Very important Rashi, guys. Quickly look at Rashi. Just one line in Rashi. Zar sheichel truma b'mezid. A zar that eats truma b'mezid who b'misa b'dei shemayim v'lei b'karis. Karis who v'zarin enash. Karis he and his children are punished. Dichsiv aririm yiyu. Misa b'dei shemayim is limited to him. So karis is more severe than misa b'dei shemayim. Misa b'dei shemayim is limited to the individual. Karis extends to what? To the children. Good. So now. Zar that each truma with the different speed. Let's figure it out, guys. Now, I won't let you off the hook so quick. So, you ate your chayiv misa b'dei shemayim and your chayiv tashlumim. So there's the possibility for kamlei b'derab minei, right? There's the possibility of kamlei b'derab minei. Loit abaya, would you be chayiv or pata? What did Abaya say? Asam yeh any asam, right? Even misa b'dei shemayim. So according to Abaya, you'd be pata from Tashlumin. What's Kamle b'derabminei? Where did Rava learn it from, guys? Molech. And what did Hakadosh Baruch Hu say? Karis. Is eating truma karis? No. So according to Rava, you will be chayiv Tashlumin. That would enough gemina be between the two. Easy Gemara, right? Guys, yeah, that would be the difference. Very geshmak. One more time. Light abaya, any asayin is going to get you off the hook, even misa b'dei shemayim. So a zar that eats truma, who's chayiv misa b'dei shemayim, in fact, will be pata from tashlumin, invoking the halacha of kamlei b'derab minei. But light Rava, who learns it out from Moilach and Karis, only Karis and up Karis and misa b'dei shemayim would get you off the hook. Misa b'dei shemayim, which is one darga less, would not get you off the hook. You'd be chayiv. All right, as I state. So that's fair, right? The Gemara says it. So. Ma'ika ben Rav Abaya zor shachal truma. Le Abaya pata. Le Abaya would say come labor the Rabbi. It's an asign. Ule Rav chayev. Okay, now question is Abaya how you pata, and that's the rest of the share. Now, guys, in order to be chayiv for kamei b'derabmine, I wake up in the morning and I'm having a bad day. Somebody says something bad to me, so I shoot him. Okay. Later on in the day, I go ahead and I slash somebody's tires because I'm having a really bad day. Am I chayiv to pay for the tires? So that's why. Why don't you say come later to Rabbi? I'm chayiv misa and chayiv tashlumin. So the biggest side in come later to Rabbi is it has to be vasachas. It has to be vasachas. Good. So here the problem now we're trying to figure out in Abaya, how do you have it vasachas? How do you have? In other words, pashtus you'd say when you eat it at the same time you chayiv misa, you're chayiv tashlumin. Correct? Maybe not. Let's see the Gemara. So here, this is what we discuss. Will Abaya plata? Or can't Abaya be plata from kamlay? How do you apply kamlay? V'amar Rav Chisda, moida Reb Nechunya ben Akana, begoinav chelbo shel chaverai. If you steal your friend's chaylev, you chayiv to pay him. Good. V'achlu, and then you eat it. What do you chayiv eating chaylev? Karis. Shu chayiv. You know why? Shekvar is chayiv b'geneva. Koidim shaboli de yisach chaylev. You were chayiv for the geneva before you came to yisach chaylev. Alma, what do you see? The ba'idna the agbe. As soon as you lifted it up, kanya mischayiv b'nafshlei havi ad the ochalei. Hachanami the idna the agbe. When you lifted up the truma, kanya mischayiv b'nafshlei havi ad the ochalei. We know, guys. Again, this is really shaskat. It really is. We know that when it comes to transactions, there's something called a kinyan. We're all familiar with that. Kinyan. You're familiar. There's kinyan, Mashicha, Masira, Hagbah. There's different ways to acquire something. It's Masechta Kedushin. We'll get into all the different ways, right? The din of Geneva applies that same way also. So just like Hagbah is kind of bechol makayim. If I go into your house and I lift something 3 tefachim where it's lifting, I be chayiv. So what happens? I'm stealing truma, right? I pick it up. Right then, I'm chayiv to pay. When am I chayiv misa? Later, only when I eat it. So according to Abaya, why would you say apply the batur of kamei b'derabmine? It doesn't have mavasachas. So the rest of the Gemara is we're going to try to figure out how is it possible not to have the chi of tashlum and karis at the same time. How is it possible to have it at the same time? Good. So that's the lowdown over here. Says the Gemara, I have an it. You know what we're talking about over here? You're going his friend put it in his mouth. Says Rashi, guys, look. The loy agba. He didn't lift it up. The loy kanya. And he never acquired it. The loy mechayev b'tashlumim ela b'yasai. He's only chayiv to pay when he swallowed it. So mischayev demei hanias meyav, loy demei kula. He'll be chayiv for the hana he had for saving himself a meal. But loy demei kula. Ubahu shaita chiyav misa namiyeka. Mama shalom de Shirashi. Guys, listen to this. Guys, look at me. Guys, look at me. Listen to this. There is 2 types of tashlumin over here. There is the tashlumin of acquiring a stolen object. This is somebody else's Gemara. It's now I'm chayiv to pay back the Gemara. And then there is a tashlumin for the hana I'm having. So, for example, let's say I'm learning a Mishnah and I'm having such hana, and how much is that hana worth? $10. So there'll be 2 things: the $13 for the Gemara and the $10 for the hana that I had. Good. So the kasha was in the tashlumin of Hagbah took place before the chi of misa of eating. Because that takes only place when you have physical hana. So therefore we had a problem. And for the Gemara, we did away with that initial hana. We did away with the kinyan hana. We're speaking about the physical hana he's having of just having a good piece of truma, a nice piece of truma in his esophagus or in his stomach, not esophagus. It's a good piece of food that's in his boich. So at that time, when that second tashlumin and chiyuv misa comes synonymously at the same time, that would be kamei b'derabmine. That's the teretz of the Gemara. That's the teretz of the Gemara. Okay, now the Gemara is going to say l'chayra, the chiyuv of tashlumin, that earlier chiyuv should take place earlier. when the guy put it in your mouth, guys, right? He put it in your mouth. You know Kenyan, correct? Did you have to swallow it? Could you chewed it? Could you have not chewed it and give it back? So maybe the act of chewing, not that it's a Kenyan, but it creates the chiyuv tashlumin right then and there. I'm being masik your food. I'm eating your food. So even before you had the chiyuv misa of swallowing it, l'chayr, since you could have given back, so there's an earlier tashlumin. That's the Gemara's kasha. Fred the Gemara kasha. Soif, good your friend stuck it in your mouth. And good you didn't do an act of kinyan. But kivin the law say, since you chewed it, kanya, your kanya, it's not mamish the kinyan. It's not one of the kinyans is not leisa, right? And mischayev b'nafshoy lo havi ad debola. And the chiyuv to your nefesh is not until your bola. So back to the original question. The chiyuv tashlumin and the chiyuv misa do not occur b'vasachas. So how can a buyer get you off the hook for kam labor the Rabbi? Says the Gemara, Kigoin shetoichelov letoich beis habliya. He stuck it down his throat where he couldn't bring it back. Therefore, the only hana he could have is what? The only hana he could have is when he swallowed it, right? That hana and the chiyuv misa, that happens simultaneously. Now, says the Mahekidami, if he's able to go ahead and give it back, Nahader, it's the same thing as Lisa. In other words, just because if you swallow your act of doing something creates what a chiyuv of tashlumin before the chiyuv misa. So if before it got to your stomach, when you had the hana, it was in your throat and you could have brought it back out, Nahader, you should have brought it back out. And if you didn't, you should be chayav to pay. And and if you can't, am I chayav? Why you chayav misa, guys? Guys, here where I learned it. Not the why you chayav to pay. Why you chayav misa? The guy stuck it down your throat. You can't give it back out. You can't be chayav misa. I'll pay you for the meal. I'll pay you for the meal. I had enough. But I you know what? I had enough from truma. I'll pay you for the meal. But I can't be chayav misa. Not the knech over there. I'm an honest. You hear the knech. It's not that. If you read the Gemara, it says chay. No, it doesn't mean the payment. It means misa. What is it? Who state us? You stuck it down his throat. It says like tzricha the matzila du'edechak. Oh, one second. He's able to go ahead and give it out al yedei adchak. So since it's possible to give it al yedei adchak, Rashi says the inami ahadre mimasa. In other words, he can give it al yedei adchak, but there's not going to be that earlier tashlumin. Pirish. Since it's al yedei adchak, it's full of mucus, it's all disgusting. He doesn't want it back. It's ruined. Hilkach migzal loy gozla. It's not a gazela because he can bring it back, but the guy, it's not worth anything to the guy. He can't use it anymore. Amai kamechayev le b'tashlumim anas grainai. Oh, for I he has umeyav. He shait the chiyuv misa here. That time there's a chiyuv misa. So since he could give it al yedei adchak and bring it out, right? There's no tashlumin of kinyan, right? But there is a tashlumin of the meal, and that happens v'sakas with the chiyuv misa. Rav Papa says, Kigoin, very easy, right? It's a liquid. The liquid goes down. There's nothing to talk about. There's no kinyan. He put it in his mouth. There's no going back. So therefore, the only tashlumin is going to be the tashlumin of the hana of the drink. That happens with asachas. Therefore, according to Rabbi, you'll be pata because he learns that from asain. If you're learning that from asain, any type of asain is going to go ahead. Even misi v'shemayim. Rav Ashi Amar says Rav Ashi amolam the sheteretz. Now, there's no geneva, guys. There's no geneva. A zar is eating his own truma. How do you have a zar and non-kohen eating his own truma? No problem. His mother is a bas kohen. His mother's a bas kohen. Zayda was a kohen. Zaydi died, left over Yerusha. Who got it? He did. So you're not talking about geneva at all. No tashluma for geneva, no kinyan, no nothing. It's his. It's a geshmak. Bizar shaychel truma mishaloi. Vikara shirin shel chaveiroi. So what happens? He is at the time he's eating it. When he goes ahead and he swallows it, he rips his friend's clothing. Says Rashi, b'shasha boila when he swallows it. The afagav the misa lav mishum mayna. Even though the misa is not because of the mum and the nizik, because that's in other words, usually that we've been dealing with till now, where the chiyuv tashlumin is in the same object that's killing him. Over here, no, the chiyuv tashlumin is in another object because he's not going to pay mammon because it's his object. He owns it. right? So therefore, it's his money. He's not gonna pay for that. So afagav the misa lav mishum amayna the nizik asilay miftar usfila Ravashi misa lezev tashlum zeh pater. And Ravashi holds if misa as a result of one thing, eating truma, and tashlum as a result of another thing, ripping a prince's garment, you would be what? You'd be part. Okay, so let's go. At the time you're eating it, you did simultaneously. Okay, let's go. Let's just chas riba and then we'll call it a day. So we have our Mishnah clearly holds that chi of karis you be chayiv for rape. If you go ahead and ma'anas a woman, you be chayiv to pay. There's a chi of mammon. Why? Because by an issa karis we don't say kam lebi the rabbi minay. So if a man's ma'anas his sister, a man's ma'anas his brother's wife after his brother divorced her, or his aunt after the uncle divorced her, then there's going to be a chi of kam lebi the rabbi minay. There won't be a chi of kam lebi the rabbi minay by karis. Says the Gemara, lafuke the shita of who of Rabbi Chulin ben Akana. Rabbi Chulin ben Akana says that chi of karis you would say kam lebi the rabbi minay. Where do you know it from? Achloik sin Abaye for Rava. Abaye learns it out from Yaakov Avinu and the Meifel Adois. By Meifel if there's nothing happens to the woman, then you're going to pay. If something happens to the woman, you won't pay. Good. And then we learn us to Yaakov Avinu any type of thing that occurs. And Avram and Rava learns it out from Moilech, and Kadosh Baruch Hu says, "You better take care of him. If you don't, my karis will take care of him." So according to Rava and Abaye, the nafkamina would be anything beyond karis. Anything beyond karis, like Rava, karis and upwards, karis and misibei shemayim, like Abaye from anything. So now, if a zor eats truma, a zor eats truma is a chiyah misibei shemayim, which is not karis, because karis can be with your child as well, but misibei shemayim not. That's the difference. So if your zor eats truma, so two things happen when he's eating the truma. One, there's a chiyah of mammon on the truma. Two, there's a chiyah of misibei shemayim. Like Abaye, you'd be pata because the kam lebi the rabbi minay, because it's not limited to karis. Like Rabbi that learns that from karis, no, you would not be kam lebi the rabbi minay. The rest of the shir was stelzing on 1 second the minutia of Abaye, how to go ahead and figure out Abaye that you have a case of kam lebi, because kam lebi has to be bivas achas, it has to be simultaneously. If he's picking it up the truma, if he picks up, he's coming over here, and the chiyuv only comes later on. We need the chiyuv to come simultaneously. So we tried a few cases. One, he put it in his mouth, so he never made a kinyan. Read the Gemara, then he should have gone ahead and spit it out. And he chewed it. Once he chewed it, it's like he put it in his rishus, and the chiyuv misa only came later on. That doesn't work. He stuck it down his throat. He should have bring it back out. He stuck it down. He can bring it out b'shas hadchak. So what does b'shas hadchak mean? It can't be mechayev tashlumin when he's going to bring it out because it has no value anymore. So the only tashlumin that shaykh is the guy who owns it says you keep it, but you'll pay me for your hana. That hana takes place simultaneously. Why? With the misibei shemayim, and therefore you be pata from kamlei according to Abaye. Second pshat, second possibility, you drink. Push it. It's truma. Truma is you drank wine. You drank wine of truma. So therefore, as soon as you put it in your mouth, the chiyuv is right then, and the chiyuv is what are you going to do? The chiyuv, there's no kinyan. It's in your mouth. You can spit it out. It's a liquid. The chiyuv is going to come at the same time, and you have dana come late. Final shita, it's your truma. Take away the whole gesel problem. Take away the whole kinyan problem. It's geschmack and teretz. That's the beauty of teretz, guys. You don't have to deal with the kinyan of sticking in the mouth, not sticking in the mouth, spitting it out. No kinyan whatsoever because it's his. He inherited it from the shver, from the shvigas of the father, the maternal, the grandfather. It's his. And as he ate it, and he was having and chiv misa simultaneously, it was a chiv misa for ripping his chiv tashlumin for ripping his friend's clothing. And you would have to say misa lezeh tashlum lezeh. Okay, tomorrow I guess 4:30. Be'ezer will be in that area in the afternoon. Okay. What? We are a daf ahead because we're not learning on Shabbos. Shabbos night is Tisha B'av. So we're gonna learn tomorrow and Sunday night. We're gonna learn Tisha B'av at night. Okay. On the Zoom Sunday night. What? On the Zoom. What's the Tisha B'av we will learn? Shabbos.
Oh yeah.